Right, this is just a little bit of footage from my amber ale brew day. I have been doing brew in the bag, but I sort of thought I'd experiment with a bit of a miniature mash tun idea. So I've just got a bit of braided hose connected to a common garden hose fitting, which basically threads onto the back of a standard tap. So I'm going to try this and sort of do it like a regular mash, so I'm not really sure if this is going to work or not. My grain bill here is sort of something I've come up with myself just based on a few ideas. So I'm using a bit of pale malt, a bit of carrot amber, some biscuit, and a little bit of Carafa 2 special malt, mainly just for a bit of colour without that sort of roastiness. So I'm just bringing up my strike water up to temperature here at the moment, so I don't think it's too far off. So I'm going to put in about 7 litres, then mash in for probably 45 minutes to an hour. I'm in a little bit of a rush today, so I don't have time to do a massive mash period. And yeah, hopefully that all works out. And in terms of the hops, I'm actually going to use some Columbus and some Rewalker today, which I'm basically going to put straight into the cubes. I'm not going to do any boil hop additions, and so I'm hoping, according to my calculations, it'll work out around 34 IBUs, and yeah, hopefully it'll work well. Right, now all these grains have been mashed. I actually added 100 grams of rolled oats, which I didn't mention earlier, just to sort of hopefully boost the mouthfeel and body a little bit. Currently sitting at maybe 65, 66, so it's a little bit lower than I would have liked, but it's okay. So I'm just going to put the lid on this and actually chuck it in the oven here because it fits, and so I just have the oven set on sort of the lowest setting it'll go. Seems to hold it around maybe 40-50 degrees, which sort of definitely supports the mash staying in the right temperature range. And so I'll leave that, and then hopefully this braided hose gadget will do the trick. Okay, I've just pulled this out of the oven and it's been there about 35-40 minutes. Sort of experimenting with a shorter mash time here, mainly because I'm just running a bit short of time, but the temperature's still sitting pretty much at 65 where it went in, so that's good, hasn't moved. So hopefully start recirculating and this is going to work. Pretty gunky stuff coming out initially. So I'll just let that flow for a bit, and then hopefully it'll start to clear up fairly quickly and won't get stuck or anything stupid like that. Well, I recirculated that for a bit, probably for about 5 litres or so, and it's definitely cleared up quite a lot. So I'm just putting it off into my brew kettle. Looking a good amber colour, which is always a good sign. So I'll run this off until it's all run through, and then I've preheated some sparge water here, so then I'll chuck that through and recirculate for a little bit more, and then hopefully I'll be able to crack on with the boil. Well, I've put my sparge water in, and I've recirculated it a couple of times, probably a couple of litres, and so now I'm just sort of putting the second runnings off. I was maybe running it a bit fast the first time, and so I was starting to choke up a bit, so just sort of eased it back for this one, but it's like the work's coming through nice and clear, which is sort of what I was after. I was finding sometimes with my brew in a bag of getting quite sort of grainy, husky flavours coming through. Although I sort of wonder if that's just the bag I was using was a bit coarse. Maybe a finer bag would have been better, but anyway, I thought I'd give this a go. Makes me feel a little bit more like a proper brewery. Alright, I'm just bringing this up to the boil now. Ended up getting about 11.5 litres from the total water volume of around 14 litres, so I maybe could have squeezed a bit more out, but I couldn't be bothered mucking around with it, so I'm going to go for just a really short boil, partly inspired by Tube Dino's, which works in well with today's time schedule. And as I said before, I'm just going to cube hop with some Columbus and some Rewalker. So the only thing I'm actually going to be adding to the kettle is a bit of Irish moss. Right, so I just got this up to the boil now, as you can't really tell. So yeah, I'm going to give it a pretty short 15-minute boil. And then transfer it across to my cube. I've already chucked in the hops in there somewhere. And then I'll probably leave that to sit overnight, and I'll pitch it tomorrow. Okay, so I've let the wort cool down overnight, and I just chucked it in here. Actually last night. And you can see it's cooled down, and I had it set to around 22 degrees, but I didn't put it in there until it was about 30 degrees or so the fridge wasn't working too hard to bring it down to temp. And I've got I can't see it very well, my little yeast sample there at the same temperature, so probably by the time I transfer this it'll end up around 20 degrees, which is pretty good pitching temp I think, and then I'll set this to around 18 degrees for fermentation. Okay, so I've just got my wort transferring down into my little fermenter bucket. So I haven't done any aeration yet, but I'll probably just give it a shake up at the end before I pitch the yeast. It's not as clear as I've seen it in the past. Possibly my Irish moss didn't really have enough time to do its thing, but yeah, it's certainly not a stress at this stage. So yep, I'll basically let that do its thing, and then I'll pitch the yeast and aerate it and chuck it into the fridge. The fermenter is now in place, and you can see just the way I've got tube set up there in place of an airlock. Yeah, so it's all pretty self-explanatory. I've just got a little bit of a polystyrene block over the temperature probe there, just so it's just trying to isolate it from the sort of ambient temperature, and so it's only reading the fermenter. And I've set it to 18, but yeah, that's currently the wort temperature, so it's around 20 degrees, just sort of what I expected. So we'll just leave that to do its thing. Right, just to finish up here, I've taken a gravity reading, came out at 1046, which gives an efficiency of 70.94, which is, yeah, it's pretty decent for this setup anyway, and certainly the first time mucking around with it. Probably brew in the bag, I was typically getting maybe around 60, 65, so yeah, any improvement's good.